Hey, it's Dr. Shantae, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a video on Instagram, and I've posted it here too in my YouTube shorts, that invited people to commit to 10 minutes a day of quiet reading, something we used to do in school called sustained silent reading. And on Instagram, that video went viral. It has been shared far and wide. And what it tells me is that many of us are just kind of tired of brain rot. We are tired of the endless scrolling. We are tired of the distant connection. Like, we are tired of the fractured attention. We're tired of feeling anxious, like we can't even go 5 minutes without checking our phones for the latest score or to see if we got any notifications, or our brains are just kind of like looking for like the next dopamine hit, like the next stimulus, like what are we going to do now and what are we going to do next. And I think that sustained silent reading was kind of like a gateway that allowed people to recapture their attention, to learn how to focus. And one of the things I am obsessed with, like absolutely obsessed with this year, is this idea of reconnection, because a lot of us, no matter how many Facebook friends you have, digital media, social media, that great experiment has actually created a lot more fractures than connections. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing my latest obsession with ways that we can reconnect, ways that we can come back together, that don't break the bank, that are not performative, that are not going to cause any major disruption, and getting back to just some old school Gen X, okay, like some old school Gen X ways of reconnecting with ourselves, reconnecting with old friends and new friends. Keep watching. So one of the reasons why we are separated and we just don't get together the way that we used to is because we have lost third spaces. So third spaces were places that were not work, that were not school, where people could come together and just connect. So libraries, churches, church basements, people's think about Stranger Things, just kind of like, oh, I'm going over to Tim's house, or I'm going over to Michelle's house. And people just used to hang out. And nowadays, kids don't even hang out like they used to. Everybody's in their phone. And what they really want is just some time to just really connect and be together. But with the erosion of third spaces, everything you have to pay to get in there. Or, if you get a cup of coffee, you can only stay for so long before they're like, okay, move along. And so there's that piece, the erosion of the third space. And then there's also this piece where social media has created this idea that every time we get together, it has to be optimized, and it has to be well lit, and it has to have a tablescape, and it has to have invitations, and it has to have crafts. And that's great for content, but it's not great for connection. It's not necessary for connection. It might add a nice touch, but it's not required. And so I want to really push, and something I'm going to be pushing all year long, is this idea of the hang, which is a human, analog, no pressure gathering. I'm going to repeat that. Human, analog, no pressure gathering. This is a kickback. This is, hey, let's come over and just like watch a movie. This is, I'm reading books this weekend. You want to bring your books over and like crash out on the couch with me? We'll just order some snacks and just chill and just vibe and just be. And this is a wonderful opportunity to tap back into connection. And it doesn't have to be ornate. It doesn't have to be exorbitant. It doesn't have to be production worthy. And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to take a picture from every angle and then there's like a selfie and like pose for the camera. It doesn't have to be that. And I think that we have gotten away and we've overcomplicated the idea of just being together. So one of the things that I did last year in New York is I went to an event sponsored by an organization called Reading Rhythms. And Reading Rhythms is basically silent reading clubs all over New York. And so people come together in a certain place. They bring a book of their own choosing. They read for about 15, 20 minutes. Then they take a break and they talk to somebody next to them and like, hey, this is what I read. This is what I found interesting. This is why I like this book in the first place. And then they read for another 15 minutes and they kind of like repeat the cycle 3 times. And it's packed. It's like packed in that space because there is some real value in learning how to be alone together, to be in companionable silence. We don't always have to fill up the space with chatter and noise. And did you hear about this? And did you see that on the internet? It doesn't have to be that. And there is a lot of science that actually backs this up because being able to engage in non-digital, activities provides a different type of stimulus for the brain. It actually promotes something called a restful state. There's like a scientific technical name for it. It's like either DMN or something along those lines. I will look it up. I'll put it in the caption here at the bottom. But reading, for example, will put your brain in a restful state within 6 minutes. It reduces your levels of cortisol. So whatever you're stressed out about, whatever you're anxious about, it can start to reduce that by as much as 68% within 6 minutes. And it gives you an opportunity to deepen your focus, to sustain your attention, and it allows you to process information in a way that's not scroll, 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 scroll. And I think that this idea of the hang, the human analog, no pressure gathering is another way that we can not only regain and recapture our focus, but also feel this very pressing need for human connection and for intellectual stimulation and for laughter and for joy that doesn't have to be performative and pretentious. So now that you know what it is, let's kind of start to kind of like shape what this looks like. I got my trusty notes here. So hang, human, okay? This is real bodies in a real space, okay? Not avatars, not profiles, not highlight reels, okay? This is messy, embodied, face to face. Like, I got on some sweatpants and a Henley shirt. Like, that's all you getting out of me. Like, this is what it is. It's low pressure, okay? It's not performative. Analog, so physical books, Kindles, I mean, e-readers, okay, I get it. That's fine. Okay. Like I would rather you be reading than not reading. Okay. And then sometimes for accessibility purposes, you need that large print, like y'all, your girl, okay, be needing her glasses. So something that is just tactile, so handwritten notes. So there are stationary groups popping up. There are pen pal groups popping up. Things that encourage like tactile sensory experiences. No screens allowed. Like, can we go without our phones for an hour? Can we go without our phones for 90 minutes, and just continue to extend the baseline. Okay, so imagine doing some journaling, just some journal in Java, music playing in the background. And it's just, you're just in it. You're just present. You are vibing and you are connected. And then imagine having an opportunity to share, if you wish, what you've journaled, what your heart is saying, because a lot of times with all of this stimulation, 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 you can't hear yourself think. You're not processing all that you are feeling, and you need time and space to actually do that. N stands for no pressure. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to bring anything fancy. You don't have to perform. You don't have to entertain. This is low effort. Okay, this is low effort hosting. Okay, yes, clean up the trash, get your socks out of the floor. But for the most part, this is very, very chill. This is very, very low stakes. And then gathering, which is basically just we are intentionally coming together. Small, intimate, accessible, and there's no anxiety. There's no pressure to perform. And so this year, think about not events, okay, but let's just hang, okay? Like, let's just have human, analog, no pressure gatherings. I am a puzzle person. I love myrtles. Have you never heard of myrtles? I got it. Hold on. Do I have a myrtle over here? It's in my stack of books. We'll talk about myrtles another day. But I love myrtles. I love puzzles, crosswords, word finds. Like there are things that we can do to, it doesn't have to be always be books, but it can be like puzzles. It can be physical puzzles, okay, like actual jigsaw puzzles. So like have a puzzle party. It's like, okay, let's get together, let's get some snacks, let's start working on these corners, let's put some music on in the background, let's just vibe. Let's host listening parties so everybody bring one or two songs and share it with the group. And then we talk about what we liked and what we love, and you learn some new music, and you add some new favorites, and you kind of grow your playlist. Just hang, okay? It doesn't have to be anything that is extensive, And the last thing that I will say, when I was a kid, the birthday parties that I remember best and that I loved were really pretty simple. Nowadays it's like a themed birthday party and we dressed up like this and I ordered this from Etsy and yada yada yada. But when I was a kid, the parties that were the most fun, you know what we had? Hot dogs, a bag of chips, a little jug of juice. That was probably like diabetes in a cup, but we were kids. And then we all went home with a little favor bag full of just kind of like plastic toys. And we played pin the tail on the donkey and duck, duck, goose. And it was just amazing. It was amazing, and it was full of laughter, and it was full of joy, and there wasn't a phone in sight, and it was just great. Some of you, like go raid your parents' basement, okay? Like this beauty, look at that. This was literally just sitting in my dad's basement. This is a film camera. This is a Canon A1. I also have a Canon AE1, but that's the type of thing that I'm getting back into this year. It's just like analog. So how about grab a camera? If you don't have a physical film camera, they still sell disposable cameras. And so like, hey, you want to go out and do a color date or, do a color adventure where everybody gets assigned a color. You take pictures of red things, you take pictures of yellow things, you take pictures of blue things, you take pictures of green things, and then just go out and take all those pictures and then get the film processed and see what comes up. But just low pressure. So tell me, I would love to hear your thoughts about hanging out this year, okay? Because hanging used to have like this really negative connotation. If you hear thumping, it's because I have like these excessively loud neighbors with these small children. And it's like the pitter patter of little feet is really more like the banging of war drums from the Uruk-hai of Lord of the Rings. But here we are. But yeah, what are your thoughts about hanging out? Okay, it used to get such a negative connotation, like you just being lazy, y'all ain't doing nothing, you're being worthless, you're being shiftless. And I think that kind of negativity kind of embedded itself into our psyche, and we think that hanging out with friends is a useless activity, but it's actually exactly what we need to stem the tide of loneliness that a lot of people are feeling. So would love to hear your ideas on hanging in the comments. And if you are not already, make sure you subscribe, like, follow, share this content. I told you guys I'm committed to cranking out content and spending time with you for the next 100 days. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.